All right, well, we're back on air, and it's time now for the big issue. This segment is proudly brought to you by Niche Cocoa Drink and Niche Chocolate. They have a variety for you, and so if it's a 750 ml bottle or the Tetra Pak, or you prefer hot chocolate, well, they have the option of you mixing the contents in the sachet with hot water. Without milk and sugar, you're good to go. There's a lot that's up for you when it comes to Niche Chocolate. It's 100% pure Ghanaian cocoa and 100% owned by a Ghanaian. So next time you think of cocoa, next time you think of having a hot chocolate drink or think of having cocoa drink, think of Niche, Taste of Ghana. Let's take a look at our story quickly before I introduce my guest to you. And today we're going in heavy on Galamsey. Of course, we've been doing this for the last 2 weeks or so, but this time around, we're taking it from the angle of the cocoa farmer. And we've heard over time that a lot of them are giving up their farmlands for Galamsey, and many of them have complained that they're not making enough money from farming cocoa. And so if they're going to make enough from Galamsey, they're willing to give their lands away to these Galamsey operators so they can make some money. And in fact, we have a confirmation now. Yesterday, Ibrahim Abubakar visited one of these cocoa farmers who, in actual fact, confirmed that he had given out his lands and he was making more money. Take a look at that.
Just a year ago, this bare land was littered with cocoa, but today it has been ravaged by the hunt for gold by illegal miners. Several cocoa farms in the Kunsu traditional area have suffered the same fate. Akwesi Fodio has been growing cocoa for the past 20 years. Proceeds from the cash crop has been his main source of income until now. The father of 6 has leased part of his farmland to Galamsey operators.
You see this piece of land, I took over about 300 million from it, just 2 months. I built my own 2 rooms at Makasi, but I worked 20 years without buying even a single plot. Now I have my own premises. So I like myself on the gold more than cocoa.
He appears unperturbed, cutting down his cocoa trees.
Government can never stop Galamsey in this Ghana at all. I have a gold, I have plenty money in my pocket, so I don't mind cocoa. Look, I'm now cutting it off, you see? It is my own bonafide property, nobody can stop me to stop cutting my own cocoa tree. Are you plant it for me? Planting for you food and job, am I involved?
The 62-year-old is among many farmers who have sold their cocoa farms to these miners. Illegal mining continues to thrive in some cocoa growing areas due to what many consider to be lack of enforcement. Here at Kunsu, it is common to see these miners digging and scavenging for gold when you walk through several cocoa farms. Between 2019 and 2020, around 19,000 to 20,000 hectares of cocoa farms across the country were destroyed by illegal miners, according to a recent Cocoa Board report. Gold miners targeted major cocoa growing towns in Ashanti, Eastern, Western, and Western North regions. Eric Adekusi, a miner, explains the means they used to get the farmland from the farmers.
Every cocoa farm we work on is being sold by the owner. We don't use force to take anyone's farmland. We just do everything possible to convince the owner to sell the farmland by giving him more money if we realize there is gold there. We sometimes go the extra mile to get the land by diverting a water body to destroy the farm.
This is 1 acre, 10,000. Let's talk about 1 acre, 50,000. Now here, brown now. Now want to be still 1 year. Yet you go for your boss, so then you before cocoa. Never cocoa you. Now the baby, about the choka, a baker can walk around. What do you mean at your football? The bears over this cat right day. What the name?
According to the International Cocoa Organization's April Cocoa Market Report, the 2021-2022 cocoa season is heading towards a world deficit of approximately 181,000 tons, mainly due to a shortfall in the Ghanaian production. 67-year-old Nana Kwesi Poku, a cocoa farmer, fears cocoa production will drop drastically in the coming years if measures are not put in place to prevent farmers from selling their farmland to the miners.
Maye ku adwuma buru mfi aduasa ko be mfi aduanan. Se me koko kuani na mate koko be mfi aduanan na me ni miru aduanan da ho a. Na me mobo.
I have done cocoa farm for close to 40 years, but I can't boast of having 4,000 cedis. So if someone offers 50,000 Ghana cedis to take over the farm, why shouldn't I give it to the person? If government does not re-strategize and put in place measures to make the farming lucrative, cocoa production will decline drastically in the coming years.
Nti koko no say abaya mfane na nsi fom anya nhye papa ama kuafo. Adia ene ebedu be mfie du akiri koko no ha onya bi ndo.
Kunsu has now become the hub of mining, with thousands of youth from across the country moving there on daily basis to engage in Galamsey to generate some income. Already, cocoa output dropped 34% in the first 6 months of the season compared with the same period last year, according to a report by Cocoa Board. This means Ghana risks losing proceeds from its main cash crop and chief agriculture exports if Galamsey activities linger on.
The sad reality is that cocoa cannot compete with gold in this area. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kunsu, Ashanti region.
Sad reality, cocoa cannot compete with gold in that area. Well, in the studios this morning, I have Comrade Mutala Mohammed. He's the MP for Tamale Central, and he joins us. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, we can't complain.
All right. Well, we also have former chairman of the People's National Convention, Bernard Mona, joining us as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everything okay?
Not okay.
What's wrong?
You cannot live in an economy of this banjas nature and expect things to be okay. Things certainly are not okay.
I see. Well, let's see if things are okay.
The only thing I can say is that it's been a while that I've seen my chief.
And your senior brother.
And then Siambogona.
And your senior brother.
Okay.
And it's important that I give him the reverence. I'm sure.
Who's your chief?
Chief
Mr.
Siambogona.
Senior brother.
Okay.
Siambogona Titus Glover.
Siambona?
Yes.
Chief of which area?
Sankara.
Sankara.
Sankana.
Sankana?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I
He's
didn't
a
know
chief,
that.
so-
We hail you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Mr. Daniel Mead, Quartet Titus Glover,
Thank you.
former MP for Tema East and Chief of Sankana. Good to have you in the studio.
to have
I didn't
you
know
too.
that about you.
In fact, chief from Sankana is not chief of
Yeah,
Sankana.
Oh,
he's a
from
chief from
Chief
of Sankana.
from
Chief
Sankana.
of Sankana.
King of the caves.
You know, we have the slave caves in Sankana, and he is the king.
Of the caves,
Yeah.
not the whole Sankana.
Yes.
That,
Okay,
the paramount chief is there.
He's also the senior brother to this young
That
man.
is true.
I see. So
That
is that
is
where you're from?
I'm a guy.
Exactly.
Like
So I'm a little confused.
Yeah, he's a kingmaker.
I
He
see.
can be the chief of Sankana.
He was
Future.
also given
So-
chief,
Yeah,
they
chief
used to tell
title
me
in Dagban.
by himself
Yeah,
in the
that is true.
traditional council.
I
was
see.
down south here when I was officially written to.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Observe the things I'm doing in the country, my constituency, for that
Okay.
matter. They want to give me the chieftaincy title. Myself and my senior Osabe
Okay.
that year,
Okay.
2019,
Oh, nice.
April.
Congratulations.
Thank
But
you.
he says things are not too good. I'm not sure about you. And
What
if you'll be
else can
singing
you
the same
expect
song.
from these red berets? Whether it's this South African parliament, what's their name? Maleme's
Julius
group.
Malema,
very
yes.
good
That is, you go and sleep in front of parliament. He has left his comfort, that is bed in the house, at the frontage of parliament, trying to dramatize and do all kinds of things.
Is it about drama
So-
or he's actually speaking on behalf of the rest of
This is my
Ghanaians?
brother. He's a professional when it comes to this struggle. So I give you thumbs up.
Actually, I didn't demonstrate in London, but he can leave Ghana and go to London and go and
These
demonstrate.
are luxurious demonstrators.
Well, which would you prefer? Where would you prefer?
No,
Demonstrate in your own
I am
country, or-
here demonstrating against economic development. He goes to
Anyway,
London to go
let's
and
get into
demonstrate.
our
And let's see who is
conversation.
talking.
I'll start off with you, Titus, because this is very worrying. Ghanaian cocoa farmers are saying, and you heard one of them say that he's farmed for 40 years, cannot even boast of 4,000 Ghana cedis. Another is also saying, I've farmed for 20 years, I have a family of 6, and it was only after I sold part of my cocoa farm to these Galamseyers that I was able to build a house for my family. This is very worrying.
Now I'm sad. I'm really sad and worried
about this development. The fight against Galamsey, the last time I came here, what we have reached, it is not a fight of one person. And I want to repeat again, it is a fight, a holistic fight for all of us. And we need to commend you, the media, for the role that you have played in the fight against Galamsey. We really appreciate it as a government, continuously reminding us that this fight against Galamsey, it is a project, a national security matter that needs to be tackled. Cocoa has been the mainstay of this country. It is cocoa that has made Ghana what it is today. So in our generation now, we have no choice, we have no excuse to sit down and allow cocoa to just destroy it. And as I listen to the cocoa farmer of his story, I want my senior Bwanyi Edu and his management to start packing from their offices at Accra Central and go to these areas where these Galamseys are going on. For all you know, they'll be speaking to them. But fighting Galamsey is not the role of Bwanyi Edu and the Cocoa Board. This is a national security matter. As I move around in my campaign, I went to the Ashanti region, the Wasi, the Fomina, the New Edubiase, all those areas, the Dunkwa area. You come to the Western region, the Amenfi, Asenkregwa, Manso, Krupong, Pristia Hundi Valley, Takwan Swaye, and the Zima area. My sister, there is a lot that we need to do. And what I want to say is that the government has not reneged in its fight against the Galamsey fight. And for that, let me say it, and across my heart, he has not. But it's not his fight alone. Yesterday, I was at a media briefing on the role that the Ministry of Mines and Energy are doing in the fight against Galamsey. One, the community mining, the teams that they have formed. Two, these speedboats that the government has been able to import on these rivers. Training of river guards, mercury-free machines to take people away from the water bodies. And a host of things, cadastre plans as to what we should do in this planning. I think when we have reached, we have to redesign and relook at the strategy again. The propensity for money, greed, and impunity is becoming too many. I've said it, I'm a Ghana. I don't do Galamsey. I grew up, I did my 6th form national service, 89, in a village called Ammonie in the Western North region. When you are going to the farm, you see this stream that is passed. Pure. We just cut a leaf, fetch the water, you drink. I don't know how the village is as it now. So the issue about the threats to cocoa, and if you're not careful, this mercury that they are using, it goes into the tree, it gets into the pot, it gets into the fruit. We'll be here one day, then they'll tell us Ghana cocoa is threatened. This is a national security matter.
They've already started saying it. I mean,
do you understand?
there's supposed to have been a ban
and when you listen to the gentleman,
with mercury.
one of the miner, he's saying that if you're a farmer and they approach you to sell your land and you refuse, they go and start at the top of your farm. And as they begin to prick and mine, gradually the water will be descending into your farm. And by the time you realize, you destroy. And you run. Such an impunity. Such an impunity. We need to rise up as a country to support the government in the fight against Galamsey. And those who are involved, who are in our party, who are doing this, please, you are not helping the cause. This fight is not about Aisha Wang. It is not about Chinese. You know Aputumpata? Aputumpata. Bats. You say they operate in the night. They know where human, for them, by their creation. Abuji, you know where, they know where people are. The Chinese, when they arrive in Kotoka, they don't know where the Galamsey sites are. It is our own people that will lead them. And Chinese by their creation.
But you see, it goes beyond the Chinese, because if I'm a farmer, you're hearing from the farmer telling you
No,
that
what I'm
for
saying
40
is that-
years, I've not even seen 4,000 Ghana cedis
Now,
before.
if you heard
I am
me well-
impoverished. I get you. I'm just bringing in this
Yeah.
angle and saying that, yes, maybe some of the Ghanaians are leading these foreigners around. Some of these Ghanaians are engaged in it themselves. But if a farmer is willing to give up his own farmland, that's supposed to be growing cocoa, that's supposed to make us millions of dollars. He says, I'm not even benefiting from it, because how much do these farmers make? 6% of the price of cocoa on the world market. And so if that's all I'm making, and now Galamsey is also offering me 300 million, like this man is saying, why would I not choose that?
I have seen on social media one of these cocoa growing areas. I'm sure if you don't in the eastern region, it could be in Ashanti region, where a chief was saying that his forebearers bequeathed to him cocoa production. There's incessant pressure on him to let go the cocoa so that they can go and do gold.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've watched that video before. And he said, no, I will not do Galamsey. He has been able to convince the youth of his town that, look, yes, gold is money, but I will not sit down as the chief of this community to allow my land and the cocoa that has been bequeathed to me by my forefathers to be destroyed. He's one out of the lot. It means that out of the lot that we are seeing, there are a lot of genuine chiefs and people who are ready to defend their land and their future.
Even when they're hungry? Even when they're impoverished?
For that, you can praise him for that. But I'm saying that this matter, as we see it on your screens, it is not a matter that we should sit and laugh. It's a serious matter that needs national security attention, that needs a lot of input from everybody. Cocoa Board, the national security, the armed forces, and they need to position them there. Because the soldiers, they go in once a while and go and drive the people for the water bodies, from the forest and all that. And when they finish, the regional security councils, the district security councils, what do they do to follow up? To make sure that all the work that these soldiers has come to do, they continue to do it. So clearly, we need to revise all our plan and the strategy in dealing with this cocoa matter. Because if we are not careful, we are finished as a country.
Bernard.
I'm not happy. I'm not enthused at all this morning. And the threat that I'm seeing, there's a lot that we need to do. And government has not reneged in its fight. This is an individual decision. He owns the land. But we need to let him know that your personal decision, it is not to the general good of this country.
Not to the general good, but if I have 6 children and I have to feed these children, I have to find a place for them to stay. And at this point, I'm making only 6% of the world cocoa price. When I'm the first point of call when it comes to chocolate production in the world. And I'm not even making even 10% of that price. Now, farmers are even saying that increase the farm gate price by some 30% so that we can manage with the exchange rate challenges that we're facing. We haven't heard from government on this. So if a Galamsey approaches me as a farmer and gives me a better option, I won't say better necessarily, but when it comes to money, of course, that would be a better option for someone who has 6 children to take better care of their families. Why would they not want to give up their farmlands?
Good morning to you. Good morning to my kid brother, Mutala Mohammed.
And then good morning
And to my elder brother and chief,
Thank you.
Mbogona Titus Glover, who unfortunately, unlike me, had demonstrated in Ghana against government's perfidy and gone beyond the shores of Ghana all the way to the United Kingdom to do demonstrations against President Mahama and President Tata Mills. And in those days, his level of adrenaline was at a different level. So I'm surprised that when it comes to demonstrations and manifestations, he is qualified to speak about me when he indeed knows that I'm just...
Points made.
No, actually, I am subordinated.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Proceed.
Bella, it is a difficult thing, and I want to disagree with my chief that cocoa is the mainstay of our nation, gold as well. And gold has played a significant role in either making or unmaking our nation. I have said, in most instances, gold has unmade our nation, because in the gold-producing areas, you expect a certain level of development and upliftment of the life of the people. If you go to Obuasi, if you go to Konongo, if you go to Akutia, you could go to Bogoso, and all those areas. And they tell you that these are the mining centers of our nation, and yet the state of deprivation, denial, and underdevelopment of the area, you will doubt whether that is where the bulk of our nation's resources actually come from. The wealth of our nation comes from it. Cocoa has played a significant and continue to play a significant role in the development of our nation. You see, sometimes we must eat humble pie and say that our sense of administration and governance is largely responsible for the decadence in our society. At a point when state was interested and took deliberate steps to be part of the mining and extraction of mineral resources in this country, the issue of Galamsey was contained to its barest minimum. Because if you go to Obosi, for instance, then Ashanti Goldfields, majority of the people that were there were employed by AGC. They had shuttles picking them from Tutuka to Iname and everywhere. The mining company then made sure that those things, they had the AGC hospital, they had the AGC clubhouse. Facilities were provided by the mining company, which was largely owned by the state. And people who were working there and they were satisfied with the incomes that they made. You could not see the extent of Galamsey that we are seeing today. If you went to Akwetia, where the consolidated diamond mines was, and because the state took deliberate steps to ensure that it participated in the extraction, you see that things were streamlined, the shaft system was in place, and people were largely employed by the state so that they can do the work. Somewhere along the line, our greed and probably our lack of understanding gave way that, look, the state must not be interested in investing its energy in doing business. So we started jettisoning state percentage and holdings in these mining sectors. And soon as we did that, majority of the people that the state used to employ were laid off. They had acquired expertise in knowing how to do mining, and they were laid off. You expected them to eat grass or to eat the stones. And so once the state was no more employing them, and then the companies that we sold the state interest to decided to lay them off, and they had families to cater for, eventually they had to go into the field by themselves. And some of them had farms, and they know that there is gold within the farm. So they started small by small, using pickaxes and what have you, and then later they decided to come with some moderate machinery and now sophisticated machinery. And then our environment is being devastated. Until and unless we take deliberate steps to say that, look, we have to take control of the minings and centralize and operate and regimentalize so that people can go and get employment within the mining sector, the long we continue to allow private sector participation in the manner that it is done, with the state now having less than 5% of shares in our minerals deposit in this country, I can tell you that this scenario will not change. I watched the video, and I'm happy you replayed it. I was coming to talk about it. When I watched it the first time, I was like, ooh, but the man was speaking sense. He has worked for more than 20 years. He has never come across 4,000 cities. And all of a sudden, somebody come and say, look, so he goes to sit by in his farm. He sits there and then gives you a portion. You take and give him money. He's been able to build houses. So that should inform us that, look, what is Cocoa Board doing? And the man tells you that 2 years now, he has given his cocoa beans. He has not been paid. Yeah. Cocoa Board is there doing political talk. Doing political talk. And when you hear them, the kind of effusions that come from them, you think that all is well. Somebody has sold his cocoa beans to you, and for 2 years, they have not received income. You expect them to go back to the farm? With what? To go and start work. In the process, he realized that, why? As I'm doing cocoa, there is also gold down there. It is my farm, so I decided to give out my farm for the extraction of gold. They admit, and all of these people admit that they know that they are devastating the environment. But the option is, if we don't devastate the environment, can we survive? And so if the option to not devastating the environment is that we die out of poverty, out of hunger, and our beings is taken away and government determines when and how, they want to come and pay you. And I'm saying when and how. When depends on the time. And the how is what quantum of your money you are going to get. If they owe you 2 years, they can come and decide that they will pay you 3 months of the beans or a portion of it. So that is the danger that we are facing. I am as well worried about the devastation that is ongoing. But the state must take central stage. Now, there's another documentary that I watched that was very, and up to date, I have not heard national security or the state do anything about it. That was carried by Joy FM, where they went into a community. I'm sure you have come across it.
Yeah.
They went into a community. The team that went there, they entered some place and they realized that, oh, in the thick of the forest was a structure. When they entered into the structure, they picked first the Chinese and other Asians that they found there. As they entered into the structure, they got military uniforms hanging there in the room, in the structure, with military armaments. All of a sudden, another military man came there in a tundra. And when he came, he asked the people, didn't you meet anybody? Then the officer from the national security said, we met so many people. What type of person are you talking about? He said, the soldiers that are here. This is a soldier who was sent to go and ensure that we protect our environment. They have gone to take control and they are protecting the people. And so he took his phone, placed a call, and in less than 30 minutes, over 40 soldiers came there, and it was a tug of war with known faces of Delta Force men, macho men, who were also there. What were they doing there? And they started beating the cameraman and then the national security operatives who have gone into the forest. That video is available. What measures have we taken to say that, look, even the people that we have taken to go and help us to combat these issues, they have themselves gotten involved in it, and they are protecting the illegal extraction of minerals in the forest. Where are we going from there? And we see some of them die. I'm just watching on your headlines. And a police has died in the
Western North.
Yeah, in the
yesterday,
River.
yeah.
Where I sit, I have my conspiracy understanding of this. Either he was against and was pushed into the river, or something. Because anytime somebody wants to get up and stand up for the nation, his colleagues and peers will say that, you want to show your muscle. If they clear you of the way, they can continue to do their thing. So look, the state must sit down and realize that opening up the mineral space, the extractive space, to everybody to come and participate is part of the problems that we are facing as a result of this. So the centralization that was there, that ensured when you were drinking the rivers that you were passing through, was the state not in charge of the minings in this country? Today that we have decided that let's give it out. Newmont operate a lot of minerals here. What is the share that we get from them?
Well, Dr. Ishmael Norman, before I come to you, comrade, Dr. Ishmael Norman yesterday was speaking on Ghana Tonight, and he was addressing the issue of Galamsey and how we are attempting to fight it. He says we're cowards in fighting Galamsey. Let's listen to him quickly, and we'll ask our comrade what he makes of the situation at the moment.
We are cowards. The leadership is cowardly. Because if we were not cowards, we would have addressed this issue. I will come to the judges' issue. Alfred, if you look at the level of destruction in Eastern region, Ashanti region, Central region, Western region, all the regions that the illegal mining is going on, the collective level of destruction is greater than the Hiroshima bomb. It was dropped in one location, 15 kilotons TNT, dynamite. The level of destruction that the illegal miners have caused to our country is equivalent to that. With all due respect to the people who suffered in this atomic attack by the United States on Japan during World War II. We are in a very critical national security disaster emergency situation, complex emergency, and the government doesn't seem to have any control. Imagine how we will handle a terrorist attack. It will be the same. We're not prepared for anything in this country. And we are not able to act because party bigwigs are involved on both sides of the political divide. MPPs are involved, NDC are involved, district assembly people are involved, DCEs, MCEs, politicians.
Comrade, are we being cowards in the fight against Galamsey?
Well, I would say not just cowards, but deliberately engaged in this illegal act. But let me say good morning to you and good morning to my old man, because he always wants people to see.
Who's your old man?
This man. Yeah. Because he has never missed the opportunity to announce to the world that he's older than me just days. Thank God someone is older than you on this program today. Well, I listened to my brother, and to be very honest, I think we should stop the pretense. The president knows those who are engaged in Galamsey in this country. He knows.
You know that for a fact.
It's a fact.
You don't need Archimedes to rise from his tomb to tell you that the president knows. The president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. The president receives briefing from the Minister for National Security and Interior every morning. Every single morning. If the president is unaware, then God save this country. And certainly he would have been told that these are the people who are engaged in it. Why? There are national executive officers of MPP who are engaged in this act. Some of them, their bulldozers were confiscated and burnt. I know one national executive who is building and buying properties left, right, and center. When that gentleman he finished university some few years ago, people should find out where is he getting the money to do those things. And the security cannot tell us that they are unaware. Go to Pillar 2. I'm told that it's illegal. They are buying properties left, right, and center. Where did they get the money? And they know within them that they know that they are engaged in Galamsey. They know. Look, we live in a country where you had the Minister for State, Aja Alima Mahama, in having an interaction with MMDCs, palpably stated that we know those of you MMDCs who are engaged in Galamsey, and we will come after you. As we say today, nobody has been able to tell us those who are engaged in Galamsey. Nobody. Now, on what basis was the minister talking about that? And knowing Aja Alima, she's a lawyer by profession, a very intelligent person, she certainly couldn't have been making the statement without evidence. And in fact, if she didn't even have evidence, I believe that the president would have asked her to retract that statement, because she virtually indicted the entire government. Because if you have all MMDCs across the country and you accuse them in their faces that some of them are engaged in Galamsey. So this business is an NDC MPP thing, I think we should move away from that. The government who is entrusted with the powers by the people of this country is President Nana Addo. And he has absolute responsibility to take the lead. Look, Albert Einstein once said that the significant problems that confront us can never be solved with the thinking we had when we created them. Until we garner the political will to take action, these things will continue. Look, it is the Chinese, square and simple. You had a woman who came, I'm told, if I need to believe with what I heard, that she came as a prostitute campaign, and that woman ended up engaged in Galamsey Asha 1. This woman was arrested. Now, this woman was put before a competent court of jurisdiction. She was remanded in legal custody. Then you had the Flagstaff House decided to truncate the process and take this woman out of this country. And the senior minister, the only response he gave to this reason why this woman was taken was that because of diplomatic ties with China, and that the Sino-Hydro, if we do not do that, it will affect it. When I had the privileged opportunity to be appointed by President Mahama as a Deputy Minister for Information, I remember when under Honorable Inusa Fuseni, over 5,000 Chinese were deported from this country. Almost 200 other nationals were arrested. Some of them had to be put before a competent court for trial. The Chinese government was so incensed that they sent a high-powered delegation to Ghana. In fact, the person who came, you can christen the person as like a prime minister in China, his stature. I had the privileged opportunity to have sat in the meeting with the former vice president of blessed memory, His Excellency Emisata. And the Chinese, their leader of the delegation was so angry And he went through history line, talking about the decades, if not century-long relationship that exists between Ghana and China, and the actions taken by government at the time was denting and affecting the diplomatic ties that we have had with them, bilateral relations, economic ties that we have. Now, when he finished speaking, His Excellency Mr. Atta said, okay, I understand you. I appreciate the fact that we have this relationship, but I want them to use the chopper so that you can go around and see the water bodies. They arranged, I didn't follow. The next day, when he came, he said, look, China will not accept this. What it therefore means is that the Chinese government itself realized there was the need for us to continue with the action. And in fact, civil society organizations commended the NDC government for the action that we put in place. I'm not saying that we clearly stopped Galamsey, but there was an action that was taken to ensure that this thing was. The same civil society organization now, there is a director at Ghana Water Company recently who said the water bodies are now in a state that if we are not lucky, we may not be able to recoup some of the losses that we have as a result of the actions of this Galamsey. I was a member of Cocoa Board. I was representing the Ministry of Trade on the Cocoa Board. And I remember vividly that as part of the discussions at the board meeting, this issue came up, that the Swiss and the Belgians warned that if we didn't do something about this Galamsey, it was going to affect the quality of the Ghanaian cocoa. Our cocoa is the highest quality globally. And in fact, some of them, what they do is that they buy the Ghanaian cocoa, at least a little of it, buy plenty from the other countries, and add it because of the quality of the cocoa. Look, it is not just making 4,000 cedis. There are cocoa farmers who have never tasted chocolate. Cocoa farmers. And I remember as a student leader in this country, I think in the year 2003, 2004, when Tony Blair visited Ghana and addressed our parliament. Was it in 2004? Either 2003, 2004. And then when he addressed Parliament, you know what he said? He was providing government of Ghana with 60 million pounds to boost the production of cocoa. And I remember as a student leader, I granted an interview and I spoke strongly about this. People virtually, verbally lynched me. And my question was that why would he be thinking of giving us money to boost the production of cocoa instead of he telling us that we are providing you money to set up factories to process the cocoa in Ghana? I was in Milan when we had the expo. You remember in 2016. The Ghana stands, we went there with our cocoa, just the local, chocolate we had.
Oh, okay.
We were sharing, the stand of the Ghana stand and that of the Belgian stand were just, and they had this chocolate. People who passed through our stand, and we gave them the Ghanaian cocoa to taste. The next day we had hundreds of people who came looking for the Ghanaian what's the name? Chocolate. Because they could feel the cocoa in it. So I think that there's a systemic failure that successive government, we haven't been able to industrialize. If we're doing so, I don't think that we would have had some of these challenges we have. But the political will must come from the government. If the government demonstrates the willingness to fight it, everybody will follow through. But the example he gave, I think it was Erasmus Donko, right? Asari, of Love FM. What has happened to those military officers? They were not sent there to fight Galamsey. They were actually sent there officially to defend the Chinese who were engaged.
You cannot say that for a fact because we know
they
that
were
operation.
There.
No. But let's hold on, just to be fair, because I remember that Operation Vanguard.
They were not members of the Operation Vanguard.
No. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
Just to be fair to these governments, we remember that they set up Operation Vanguard, and that was like an amalgamation of the security agencies to send some of these security agents into the forest and mining areas
to stay with the people.
No, this specific
to stay with
officers.
the illegal miners.
No, to fight Galamsey. Eventually, we heard that instead of fighting Galamsey, they rather went to protect them.
If you watch the video, they didn't go there as members of the Operation Vanguard. They were sent there to protect those who are engaged in it. You see, one of the surest way we can stop this, or at least reduce it to the barest minimum. People are hiding behind legal license to engage in small-scale mining, when in actual fact they engage in Galamsey. They come to get the license, which is legal, to engage in small-scale mining. But as to what they do in the forest, only God knows. So once they have licenses to engage in small-scale mining, they can then move all equipment into the forest. But once they get into the forest, they engage in Galamsey. I think that one thing we need to do is to stop small-scale mining, even if we need to stop that for 5 years.
We should.
We should stop it for 5 years, so that anybody who engages in small-scale mining again, that person can be arrested as someone who is engaged in illegal. That is what we need to do.
In the past,
that is
didn't work. It was banned for about 2 years or so.
That is what we need. That is why I am talking about the political will. Look, the government has the authority to determine who goes there. The traditional authorities, of course. People cannot come into forests without, like my brother said earlier, that they behave like the bats. They come into this country, they must have access, or if they want to have access to the forest where they engage in some of this illegal mining, they do so through the indigenous who are Ghanaians. And to be very honest, the threatening aspects of this story you just carried, and the video we watch is that if the man lives in a community with other people who are going through the challenges he's going through, and the next day they realize that this man has been able to build a house and perhaps have another house in the city for his family, others will be tempted to do exactly he did. Yeah. Others will be tempted to sell their cocoa farms for the purposes of Galamsey. It is extremely worrying. So the only solution, to be very honest, is the political will. The president must stand up. And in standing up, those members of his government who are engaged in this act must be dealt with. Until we do that, we will not have a solution to this.
Mr. Glover, should we ban small-scale mining for 5 years? We've tried it before in the past.
Mela, respectfully, I have a contrary view in terms of the figures my colleague, Honorable Mutale, quoted that in their time, they repatriated about 5,000 of the Chinese. I remember when the former president made that statement, there had been some concern that figure is incorrect. So I will implore my brother to check that figure again.
Did they provide an alternative figure?
Because that figure is not
but did they
the
provide,
actual truth.
I think they mentioned that there were about only 1,000 that were repatriated. The others, some of them besides. There was a fact check. I'll pull up that article again. There was a fact check that was done. Hold on, that's what I'm saying. That I'll pull up that article again. I don't remember. This was about just around the same time the president made this decision.
No, I'm asking,
so I will
who
pull
did
up.
the fact check?
I will pull it up if I can. Don't worry.
It's always good to check some of these.
No, I'm asking who did the fact check?
So I will know the actual
if it is coming from
figures.
MPP, I must as well
not
give attention to it.
Bella.
Yes.
I think over the weekend, I heard the former chief executive for Anglo-Good Ashanti, Mr. Samjona.
Yeah.
I think he was granted an interview and he was speaking about these mining issues. And to the point he said that government even don't have a stake anymore.
Yeah, they've sold all their
shares. Because in their time, about $400 million were taking and blah, blah, blah and stuff. So clearly when it comes to stake in Anglo-Good Ashanti, we have no control. Yeah. Government have no stake. All we're taking is royalties and blah, blah, blah and all that. Akufo-Addo's government has not raised his hand in despair in the fight against Galamsey. Where we are now, and I want to repeat myself, my dear sister, this is a country for everybody, for all of us. Yes, he's leading, he's the president, he's the head of his government. The impunity at which people are operating this Galamsey is what we need to look at.
Including those who are at the top.
Of course.
Because there are constantly arrests of the boys who work on these lands.
Because they have their kingpins.
But they never go and arrest the kingpins.
Absolutely. So I'm saying that this is a national security matter. But this one, I'm sure my in-law, Honorable Kandapa, is watching. I'm sure government officials are all watching. This is no matter of tea and biscuits. We are talking about the threat to our survivor, which is cocoa. It is cocoa that has made this country what it is today. So if we are sitting down today and we are saying that there is nothing that we can do, and I know Akufo-Addo's government is doing his best under this circumstance.
Are you really?
I'm sure.
So why are water bodies not?
So I'm saying that the impunity by individual people and some group of people
within the government
must be fished out.
Have they even made an attempt to fish these people out?
From where I sit, I don't know them, but they know them. Those who are involved in all these things. Because when it comes to this crunch, what we are discussing now, it is the image of the government and the president that's been dragged in the mud.
So why are they not arresting the people?
Do you understand? So I feel sad. So the security chiefs, the ministers, those who are in charge, They must help the president in the fight against these things. Because your colleague, GTV, the host,
Kafuyi. Yeah,
he was on the Prime River.
Mm-hmm.
He put it on the table.
Yeah.
He said, "This is not free juice." Mm-hmm. This is the Prime River. When you are driving from Central Region, entering Western Region, you cross the Prime River. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why is greed? Why? So clearly for me, I think that there's a lot that we can do. And my brother, my kingmaker said something about the fact that government has not been directly involved in mining. That is why we allow the private sector and people who were supposedly were employed at the time when government had some stake in it. They've all been laid off. And because for survival, they are not working, they are tempted to go and do illegal mining. When you go to South Africa, they are called Zama Zama. They are there. When you go to Australia, there's a name that they give to them. They have Galamsey. All over. But I think that we need to look at the strategy and the plan in the fight against Galamsey. As for the community engagement, the ministry and the Minerals Commission continuously to engage all these people. But greed, impunity is what is killing us. I think that permanently these soldiers, there are one or two few these security people who may go wayward. But we need to commend our soldiers for what they have done. At least when they won the Operation Vanguard 1 and all those things, a lot of achievement was made. A lot was made.
Was it really?
Of course.
They had to eventually cancel Operation Vanguard after that expose.
When there was outright ban in the mining, you asked me the question whether small-scale mining must be stopped or something. I think for now it must be.
It must be.
For now, what I'm saying, it must be.
Okay.
We must put a stop to it again and rethink and how we can really go back to it. Because when you are told that you must move 200 meters away from the water body, we saw in one of the videos, the Chinese has connected a pipe into the river to draw the water, and when they do the processing, the same water go back, wash back into it. When the soldiers saw it, and they banged us champagne. I'm not in the business of supporting the burning, but sometimes it's important. Because when you look at the extent of destruction of the environment and the water bodies, you can't even measure. So when they are burning your champagnes and they are burning your excavators, you have no choice than to keep quiet. So for me, for now, I will support the stoppage of the mining immediately all over the mining areas. Meanwhile, in these mining areas, as I move around in my campaign, Mutala and Bernard, there are no shopping malls in these areas. There are no factories in these areas. The only means of livelihood is farming and Galamsey. What I know the ministry was doing is that when you mine as a small scale, cover it. Then they'll give you trees to plant them. Then you move. Then you protect the environment. You protect the vegetation. But who is monitoring this? So clearly, the onus is on the district security councils, the regional security councils that will support these national assignment by these soldiers who were sent down. But I believe that whilst we ask them to stop, the soldiers must go on the ground again and do proper monitoring.
Can we trust these soldiers? The
Yes,
same soldiers that are now protecting some of these Galamseyers.
That's why I'm saying that one or two of these security chiefs can go wayward.
One or two?
I'm saying.
We have more than that.
You understand? So we need to find out all those bad nuts amongst the lot who are doing these bad things against the state. And the soldiers are more disciplined. Excuse me. They are more disciplined.
That's why I keep referring to Operation Vanguard and that expose by Anas. That sought to, involve some of these ministers and top officials who were supposed to be ensuring that Galamsey would end. They were the ones that were filmed in that expose, even indicating that they needed money for elections, and so they needed to engage in some of these things, which is why Operation Vanguard was even cancelled.
If the river or the sea
nothing was done to all these senior people in government.
Away, are you saying you're not going to eat
What was done to these
anymore?
senior people who were seen in those videos?
Nothing. What I'm saying is that if the river or the sea has taken your relative away, are you saying that you're not going to eat any fish from the sea or the river? The fact that people, the fact that people has been found to be culpable, it is my prayer that all those people should be identified and punished to serve as a deterrent. Because what we are seeing today, apart from look at the
This is River Pra.
Do you understand? I am worried. Because there are people living along the banks of these rivers, and that is their survival.
Yeah.
So if this water is polluted, they are drinking. They are using it all kinds of domestic shops. And we are saying that because of greed and impunity, we should raise our hands in despair, like their time. No, I don't want to say that. I will not say that. Let us see how do we fight these things. And I'm saying the president, he's not sleeping. He's not sleeping. Like the way
is he not ensuring them that people who have been seen in videos,
they are doing their best
that they are involved in it.
Because the cocoa farmer we all saw on your screen is an individual decision that he's making.
What about a government official who also indirectly says that
they
need the money? Fished out. There's video evidence.
They must be fished out and punish them.
Again?
They must be fished out and punish them. I am not comfortable the name of the president being dragged into the mud. I'm not.
He's involved in it.
I'm not happy.
Anyway, just a quick one before Bernard comes in. So this was a story. In fact, it was Honorable Minister of Information, Kojo Ponkuma, who put out this data. And he said that the 5,000 Chinese Galamseyers that former President Mahama had said were deported, that was not true. It was actually only 1,641 Chinese nationals that were repatriated. And in 2009, some 9 Chinese nationals were deported as against 43, while year 2011 recorded no repatriation. So he put out those figures and said that the rest either left on their own.
So this is the facts you are telling me. What we said.
But that is the information minister. Tell me what you think.
Information minister and the minister who was in charge, Honorable Inus Afusina, that was bankers. And I'll give you the reason. Thousands of Chinese submitted personally to be repatriated. So because they didn't capture that, they concluded that the figure provided by President Mahama was inaccurate. He even messed up himself.
Okay.
Thousands of Chinese, personally, they submitted to be repatriated. Now, they based their figure on the immigration, the information they had from the Ghana immigration, the number of Chinese who left the country at that time as a result of the repatriation. And we pointed out to them that some of them applied to be repatriated. So because they didn't capture that figure, they concluded that the 5,000 figure was not accurate.
Okay.
Between the information provided by Honorable Inus Afusina, who was the minister who dealt directly with the state agencies, I'll take his stance a million times than what Kojo Ponkuma provides.
Mr. Bernard Mona, please come in.
Bella, it is not true that President Akufo-Addo is not sleeping. In fact, even at public places, the president sleeps. Even at public places, even at international conferences, the president sleeps. So to sit in the studio and say the president doesn't sleep is not true.
But we get what he's referring to.
No, he sleeps and snores, even at public spaces. So that is not true. It is not also true that president is doing everything to combat this. No. The president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. The president appointed persons responsible for the various ministries, institutions. And these things have been ongoing for several years under his watch. The president is not able to terminate the situation. And then you come and tell me that the president is not sleeping. He's snoring. The second important thing that we must all know is that, look, and I'm happy that he mentioned Sir Jonah. In mentioning Sir Jonah admits that Ghana does not control anything. But Sir Jonah said that he is not responsible for the sale and auction of our Ashanti gold fields. Was he not the chief executive of AGC? And was he not under his leadership that AGC shares were auctioned to Anglo Gold Ashanti? By which time he became co-president only for a transition period of a year, and then they jettisoned him. And so when people say that it was because he sold our rights in the Ashanti gold fields, that is why he was knighted, he comes to say that that is not the reason for which he was knighted. Then when they ask him, what were the reasons for which you were knighted? You say that the British will not tell you why you were knighted. You see the contradiction? You don't even know why you were knighted. We are telling you that it is as a result of the fact that you sold Ghana's interests to the English. The Queen has control of your gold. And so they decided to come and knight you. You say, no, that's not the reason. Why were you knighted? Then I don't know, because they will not tell me. See, this nation, we have to be serious. It is Magnus Resdankwa who said that we have to stop mining of all forms, including large scale, for the next 10 years and do a proper audit of our situation. Because if what is on the ground is killing us because we want to bring it out, leave it there, we will survive. After all, Ghana is no more a beneficiary of even what is under, because we have sold everything out. Everything. Somebody can just come and then go and take this parcel of land. Whatever you take is for you. Take away. And you know what they do smart accounting. A lot of bauxite is being taken out of this country. If you go to the Western North area, you understand what I mean. Every evening, you see stones loaded. They are going to the harbor. In big tipper trucks. When the Chinese are returning, they tell you that they don't process it here. They take the ore and they take it away. Then they go and tell you that when they went, they could not extract any bauxite. And yet every day, the stones are going. If you are not, you take it and you don't make money. And because of that, the government of Ghana will not get revenue, tax revenue. Why are we allowing them to continue to take the stones out of our ground and pollute our environment? Don't you think that government is complicit in this matter? And if we are talking about government, who is the head of government? So President Akufo-Addo is aware, he is directly connected, and that is why this thing is ongoing. And as a result, he chooses to go and snore.
But why would he allow it to go on when he says he's ready to put his presidency on the line?
Up to date, what has he done to show that his presidency is put on the line? In our tradition, when somebody swears, and the reason for which you have sworn is not being manifested, you abdicate. How come that he is still there? When indeed it is clear, pointedly clear, that look, we have lost the fight. Today, everyone is telling you that I will not continue to have my cocoa farm and have minerals under it. Government deliberately is impoverishing me, because when I give them cocoa beans, 2-3 years, they are not giving me my money. Somebody comes and say, I will take your portion of land. Then they give it out and they get immediate money. They are able to attend to their current needs and future needs. Those who have even refused, they go and stand at the top. Then they pump dirty water into your farm. You cannot even walk into your farm. Won't you chase after them? The president is watching.
So you think we should ban mining completely and not just small scale?
Not just small scale. Let us put a moratorium on this for the next 10 years. And I'm
Is that going to be possible?
Why not?
Don't we have certain agreements with
No, that's why not. Look, there cannot be any
agreement
agreement that undermines the integrity and sovereignty of your nation, the health of your people. If you have any agreement that says that people should pollute the environment and that your people should die, you should not have water to drink, you should not be able to produce food, that agreement ab initio is bogus. So we should be able, and if you go to, I'm saying that the international agreements that Libya established, where they used to have less than 17% of their oil ownership, and Gaddafi came and went to the International Tribunal and got over 77% of ownership, ensuring that they are able to restore dignity to the Libyan people. We can do the same.
We can do the same. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue. Welcome back. This is still the big issue on TV3Newday, and it's proudly brought to you by Niche Chocolate and Niche Cocoa Drink. My guests are still here. And the next question we want to ask, maybe I'll come back to you, Comrade. Should we now look at, amending the law so that government can have a higher stake, maybe in mining as well, more than the 10% that we may be enjoying at the moment?
No,
we don't have 10%.
No. We don't even have the 10%.
We don't have 10%.
No, but regardless,
less than 3%.
Regardless the percentage we have, the problem is not those concessions that are given to these well-established mining companies. It is those who are engaged in small-scale mining and those who are engaged in illegal mining. But that also, the president is not wholly sleeping. He's in a deep, long slumber.
Oh, stop that.
He's in a deep, long slumber. No, but it's true.
Stop that.
You know that
stop this politics. We are dealing with the national
No, it's not
problem.
politics.
You see, why are you talking like that? Is it because my kid is talking? Please, let's deal with the matter and stop
saying that
trying to.
The president, Bella, is in a deep, long slumber. Look, I have just told you that, look, you had a minister of state who, in meeting MMDCs, and it was not just selected MMDCs, MMDCs across the country, including areas that you have this Galamsey menace going on. And that minister said, we know those of you. She didn't say we heard or we suspect. We know those of you who are engaged in Galamsey. For me, that was the beginning. Now, what information did she have? And if she had any information, which I have no doubt whatsoever, she would have laid that information to the president. Two, like I said earlier, the Minister for National Security and the Minister for Interior, they brief the president every morning. Every morning. It's not like every week, every morning. So the president knows those who are engaged in it. If the president wants to feign innocence, then God save this country. But you see, we'll sit here every day and speak the big English. But there must be a political will. And the only institution to establish that political will is the presidency. The president has so much power that he can instruct the national security to investigate within his own government, within parliament, because we hear stories that there are members of parliament who are engaged in it. He can instruct the national security, the BNI, to investigate, to establish those members of parliament and those members within his government and even operative at the Flagstaff House who are engaged in this. And the moment such investigation is done and the results is established, then the president needs to take action. I'll give an example. The National Service Secretariat story. President Muhammad got wind of what was going on there and instructed the Minister for National Security and the BNI to ensure that some investigation was done into that matter. And that was what happened. NYEP, it didn't take Manasseh's, journalistic work to unearth what happened there. It took the presidency to ensure that the investigation was conducted. And in fact, when the investigation was conducted, the president took action against his own brother. Look, people do not know the relationship between Honorable Abu Gapele, my former boss, and President Muhammad. They virtually grew up together. But he took action. That is the political will we are talking about. Look, and I agree with everybody who says that the president, we should ban the small-scale mining for 5 years. Remember when the president banned, small-scale mining for about 2 months or 3 months? It was palpable that the water bodies were re-emerging. They were getting to their natural state. Now, if we have that example, I think that it makes the point stronger that that action should be taken. Let's weigh between how much we generate as a state, even from legal small-scale mining, the revenue that comes to this country, against the destructions of our water bodies, against the destruction of our farmlands, against the destruction of livelihood of the people who live in this country. For me, that is worrying. But let me conclude on this. The Cocoa Board spent so much time in doing politicking. You remember, the MPP government, he was in parliament. They held a press conference in parliament and said Dr. Opuni had squandered $400 million. That press conference was addressed by the current Minister for Agric. Now, when they came into office, they spent almost a year or more investigating alleged corruption and spent millions of dollars for that investigation. Nothing came out of that investigation. Now, fertilizers that the NDC government imported, which was given to farmers free, and in fact, written on it, not for sale. When they came, they stopped the free distribution of fertilizer and started selling the fertilizers to the farmers. Now, why wouldn't they be discouraged in wanting to continue with farming and would want to sell their farmlands for the purposes of this Galamsey menace? The actions of government would also point out to the reaction of those who are directly affected. There can't be any justification in anybody wanting to sell his farmland for the purposes of Galamsey. And I think this excuse of the fact that people's living conditions, for me, that cannot be, because you are looking at the consequences of the actions that they are taking. Now, many people are moving away. And I'll tie it with farming. If we do not take time, and you remember I made this statement on this program, and the Cereal Farmers Association, there's this group of farmers who also traveled the 5 northern regions and said, if we don't take time, that there may be hunger. Look, I farm, he farms. Many people did not engage in producing, maize this year because of fertilizer. Many people. To be very honest with you, I have seen farmers who decided, someone was engaged in producing about 100 acres. I can't. He farmed like 20 acres just for the family and concentrate in producing soybeans. That is not our staple. Because soybeans, you don't necessarily need fertilizer to make it grow. So fertilizer's cost has also discouraged people from engaging in some of this production. Government needs to do that. And we cannot be blaming everything on Ukraine. Other countries who are also affected by the Ukraine, conflict with Russia are not going through what we are going through. When we are in extreme realities, we need extreme resolutions.
Okay.
When we are now making so much money, government should intervene to provide some subsidy. There can't be any justification in the fertilizer that is bought and paid, and then you come to office and you decided not to give the fertilizers to farmers. You are selling them when it is written on the fertilizers not for sale. For me, that is where the problem comes.
All right. Mr. Titus Glover, so the farmers, one of them said that planting for food and jobs, is he even part of it? He's not. And so why should he even be worried about not giving his lands out to Galamsey? Meanwhile, we've constantly heard the Agric Minister say that planting for food and jobs has been largely successful. Yet a cocoa farmer is admitting at this point that he did not even benefit from it.
Andina, the cocoa farmer spoke out of frustration. You could see from his eyes that he's not happy the way it's been managed, so to speak. He said he has produced the cocoa beans, he has sold to the purchasing clerk, he has not been paid. So out of frustration, he's prepared to pour out his pain to the public. And the only solution that he has is to rely on Galamsey to make up some money to take care of his family and all that. But let us accept it. The planting for food and jobs, jobs, yes, has been largely successful.
Has it?
Not.
Has been largely successful.
Don't go there, my
Clearly,
chief.
please.
My
please,
chief, don't
please.
go there.
Your subject is telling you that
My chief, don't go there.
Please.
Chiefs are supposed to
the
speak.
Peasants Farmers Association,
Don't go there.
So if
Agric
you are all
Workers Union. No, I'm not
me-
punching you. I'm just asking. Agric Workers Union, Peasants
If
Farmers
you are inflated,
Association,
we'll punch you.
they have all come out to say that we need to really review planting for food and jobs because it did not serve its purpose. And in fact, when they spoke, I remember that the Agric Minister came out and questioned whether they are really relevant groups within the agric sector, because he said he had not heard from them. He had men on the ground who were giving him information and saying that things were going on right. These are the farmers who constantly said that it was not working, that policy had failed. You needed to review it.
The General Agricultural Workers Union
Yes.
also says that.
Bella, when is your time you talk? So calm down. When you are all talking, I'm quiet. Why is it that when I'm talking,
When
you
I
don't
was
want
talking,
to
you are not quiet.
Why?
When I
was quiet.
started, you are not quiet.
Please, I beg you, Abuji. I'm sorry. So clearly, what I'm saying is that it started well. If for some reason there have been some inherent challenges along the line, why? We can review it. But I'm saying that when we started it, when the minister started it, we all saw the euphoria and all the things that surrounded it. It was going very well. If along the line, and these challenges have come, and the interested groups are talking about it, why? It's a matter of sitting down to look at it, the whole policy all over again. But we can't sit down and throw and say, no, we disagree, and say that the whole policy was so bad. It was not. It was not.
Was there a
Where
policy
we are...
anyway?
Why?
Please carry on. We don't have time.
So clearly, we need to look and review where the challenges are. And in respect to the fertilizer matter that my brother spoke about. Yes, in your time you sold it free.
We gave it free.
But the point is that along the borders, from those close to the borders, we all saw because it was free, they were taking them out.
So that's why we are selling.
They were
Why
taking them
you sold
out.
at subsidized
So we need to
prices?
put some little, if something has been given to you free to go and produce your farm produce, and you decide to go and sell it outside the country, then what is the essence of giving it free? Let's put some money so that you fill it and make sure that you not go and sell it outside the country.
I think that was
Use
the
it for
two were
purpose.
getting some.
Use it for the purpose for which it was given to you. So clearly, the intention of putting something small on it is not
It's
a
not
bad
small.
idea.
Eventually, they weren't even
You
getting
understand?
these fertilizers
So clearly,
to
the
buy
fertilizers are
at
not
the
coming because of the
subsidized
challenge
prices.
we have to import them. And the very places, these Russia, and these are the major areas that produce these fertilizers to us. Okay. Now the organic one is also coming. That we can use organic. When we use manures and all that to put on our farm produce, and they grow and grow well. So clearly, in a problem, the fact that we have not got these fertilizers coming, the organic manure can also be used to as part temporarily to make sure we can use it into use in our farm produce.
Okay.
Whilst at the right time when the fertilizers come.
We don't have time. Let Bernard Mona. No, we don't have time. You will not be able
no, but
to.
that would be the
No, I gave you the chance to have
you had long time to talk.
No,
you
that
addressed
was
even
my
President
second-
Mohammed's 5,000
he
Chinese.
started.
So this
You
is
deny
final.
me my
Please
right.
allow
Please
Bernard
Let's stop being
Mona.
bullied.
You
Let
please
him
allow
speak.
Bernard Mona.
Abba.
No, I need to.
You are
Final
my key
words.
brother. You are my key brother. You can let me speak on your behalf.
Fairness demand that I
Yeah,
also talk.
Bella, certainly the planting for food and jobs, rearing for food and for jobs, has been a monumental failure. One of the many policies that Akufo-Addo has failed to deliver to the people.
So as for
of
nothing
Ghana.
Akufo-Addo does pleases you.
I should tell you what pleases
Go
me.
ahead, you go. Red beret.
It's a monumental failure, and it is the reason for which this nation we are running food deficit. It is obvious that before Russia-Ukraine started, fertilizer prices had already jumped from 106 Ghana cedis per bag to 420 Ghana cedis before Russia and Ukraine could come in. And since Russia and Ukraine came in, this bag of cement fertilizer has not increased from the figure that it was before the Russia and Ukraine came. So how do you somersault and come and tell us that Russia and Ukraine is responsible for the high cost of farming inputs in this country? Obviously, policy evolution and implementation has been wayward under the Minister for Agric, and President Akufo-Addo listens to the very nice words that the minister continued to chant before him, thinking that it's going to be well. Look, where I sit, there is going to be shortage of maize. We use maize for everything. For banku, for akpele, for cocoa, for sao, for pito, for even the animal sector, feed sector. So the fact that we are going to have a heavy decline in maize output this year should tell you that we are already going to suffer. And when you say that you are a minister responsible for agric, and COVID-19 had come in, and you know that the new demand in the world will be about food, and your injection of capital into the agric sector is that porous, then it means that there is something wrong with you. He is there busily trying to become president. President Akufo-Addo is sitting and watching him, using state time and state resources to want to become president at the time that he is supposed to bring about policy implementation that will lead to food augmentation in this country.
Bella.
Thank you so much. No, we gave you we gave you all equal time. Okay, 30 seconds,
so
please. You 30 seconds.
Bella, in the first place, there was nothing like planting for food and jobs. I remember when they said that, we told them that the fund, the $140 million, was procured by the NDC government. The money was already here from the Canadian government. When they came, the Christian planting for food and jobs. So clearly there was no any policy. It was visionless. It was just meant to achieve a political agenda for the purposes of satisfying someone uncontrollable ego. How come that haven't started with the monies that were available? Why is it that they are now struggling? Because they have squandered the money and there is nothing to show. How can planting for food and jobs be successful, yet food productivity in this country has reduced under this government? How can it be successful when unemployment rate is increasing? Because they claim that
we have to go. Thank you so much. And good morning to Mr. Edward Kariwe. He's the General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union. He sent a message. The General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union has sent a message, and he says that the agric sector is in serious crisis. That is what he has sent. Anyway, this morning I've been speaking to Comrade Murtala Mohammed. He's the MP for Tamale Central, and Mr. Bernard Mona is a former chairman of the People's National Convention, and Daniel Kwate Titus Glover is a former MP for Tema East, and they've been speaking to us on the big issue this morning. And this segment was proudly brought to you by Niche Chocolate and Niche Cocoa Drink. We'll be back with some more sports, entertainment. In fact, we'll be talking about the Black Stars and their performance yesterday against Nicaragua and whether we are ready for the World Cup indeed. We'll be back. Thank you so much.